Hey guys, how you all doing, and welcome to a video on James's Tech. Now, I wanted to make a little video on me replacing my 2013 13-inch MacBook Pro with a 12-inch Retina MacBook, which I've got here. Now, I love my 2013 MacBook Pro. I can edit 1080p videos on it, I can do Photoshop work, I can do emails, I've got all the ports I need, but when I'm taking it out and about to meetings, to coffee shops, it is a little bit cumbersome. Initially, I thought the little MacBook would be quite underpowered. It's just got an Intel Core M processor versus my old MacBook's i5. But it does have the 8GB RAM, it's got the Intel integrated graphics, and the actual size and weight of this thing, I thought it would be worth giving a shot. So I picked up this little Retina MacBook from a guy off Gumtree for just £600, and I managed to actually sell my 13-inch MacBook Pro for the exact same price. So I essentially didn't even pay anything for this. It is a direct replacement. And when I first picked it up, I was immediately impressed with the build quality, the size, the weight of it. You don't really, until you actually hold it, you don't really realise how small and light this thing actually is. It is perfect when I'm just heading to a coffee shop to work and want to pick something up light, shove it in my bag, and away I go. Just over 1 kilo, it's a little bit heavier than an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, but I do get the full laptop experience on it, I get the full Mac OS, and that's what I really want, so I can do stuff like video editing, emails, YouTube videos while I'm on the go. It's also something I can really easily just take into meetings. I can pick it up, type away my notes, and then pick it up on my desktop PC if I need to. Right, so let's talk about Dongle Life, single port life, just that one USB-C port on the MacBook. Initially, it was a bit of a change not being able to plug in any of my existing devices, my external hard drives, my SD cards. But for what I was actually doing on this, I was mainly doing emails and notes. I didn't really need it for the first few days. But when I do need to use it for anything other than just out and about, if I want to plug it into an external screen, I got this fantastic little dongle for just £25 off Amazon. The link will be in the description. So it's a 6-in-1, it's got all the ports I need, it's got a few USBs, it's got a HDMI, it's got a USB-C pass-through and an SD card slot, and it doesn't get too warm. I can just take that out with me, and if I do need to get any extra functionality, I can just use that nice and easily. So let's talk about the keyboard and the trackpad on this little MacBook. There was actually quite a bit of frustration from people when Apple changed this to the butterfly switch, especially the first generation. But I've got to say, I really liked it. As soon as I got it out, I started typing, and immediately it has more of a sort of tactile feedback. The keyboard on my old 2013 MacBook Pro, the chiclet style, was a little bit mushy, so I liked how I could type on this and it was tactile. Yes, the key travel's a little bit more shallow, but you definitely get used to that very quickly. I do think the 2nd gen butterfly switches that you've got on the current MacBook Pros is an improvement, but for what I need this for, the keyboard is absolutely perfect, and I really am grown to love it. The trackpad is almost identical to my old one, besides the haptic engine in it as opposed to an actual physical clicky button. So this was actually one of the main reasons I did switch from my bulkier MacBook Pro over to this. I wanted something that was small and light for me. I've got to say, it has not let me down. In terms of the screen size, it's a little bit smaller, 12 inches, but I've got to say, if you just turn the scaling down a little bit, it's absolutely fine. You've got lots of screen real estate to work with. I didn't really notice too much difference. You're probably going to be interested in how this thing stacks up in terms of performance versus my old MacBook Pro with an i5 processor, with this guy's little 1.1 GHz Core M processor. I'm just going to say it is definitely not as quick. You can't expect the specs of this to challenge the specs of a MacBook Pro, but the trade-offs you make for the size are definitely worth it. However, the performance difference is virtually unnoticeable when you're doing general day-to-day tasks. Your notes, your emails, social media, watching YouTube videos. This guy handles 4K YouTube videos no problem at all. The 8GB of RAM comes in very handy here. And the 1.1 GHz Core M processor, you virtually don't notice that it's a Core M processor. It feels like the i5. But where this thing does fall down a little bit is when you try to do some more graphic intensive tasks. So for instance, if I'm trying to use Photoshop, it really does struggle to just basic sort of text on an image overlay. And also if you're trying to edit a video in Premiere Pro, it does sort of struggle with that a little bit. But there is one more thing you must know about this little bad boy. So I usually edit in Premiere Pro, but I thought for this, let's try Final Cut and see what it's like. I installed Final Cut in here and I can genuinely edit 4K video, no problem at all, with this Core M tiny little machine. So that for me proves why this device is perfect for me, because I can go out, I can do all my notes, I can do stuff in meetings, I can do emails, I can watch YouTube, do social media, but at the same time I can also pick up video projects where I would have been editing on my PC rig at home. Let's talk about the battery. This is the one thing I was very disappointed about when I got this. I thought the iPad battery life is absolutely fantastic. Surely this would come somewhere close. But I've got to say it has let me down on the battery life. It only really lasts around 4 or 5 hours. If I'm doing video editing, it barely even lasts me a few hours. But there is a caveat to that. Because of the size of it, it does charge up quite quickly, and you can take out a portable charger with you and charge this thing up. No problem at all. But the big question, is it better than my 2013 13-inch MacBook Pro? If I'm going to be honest, the answer to this question is entirely subjective. For some people, no, it won't be. But for me, it is absolutely perfect. It does everything I need it to do. I prefer the smaller size. The form factor was massive for me, so I can take it out so much easier now. I really like the keyboard. Some people won't like the keyboard. I really like the trackpad. Some people won't like the trackpad. I like the fact I can edit in Final Cut, but some people might want to use Premiere Pro. The lack of ports is another thing that some people might really struggle with, but if you can get a dongle for £25, it is no problem at all really. So yes, the MacBook Pro is more powerful, it's got a bigger screen, it's got more ports, but for me, for something half the weight that does most of the stuff it does, that is the perfect device for me. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about the MacBook, leave a comment, ask me a question. If you want to see another one of my videos, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've also written a little article on this. If you prefer reading articles, you want to see some pictures of the MacBook, go ahead, that's on Medium, the link is in the description for that. And one more thing, if you want to get any of the images of this MacBook, you can check them out on my Unsplash account. Again, the link for that will be in the description. Alright guys, have a lovely day and I'll see you in the next video.